Are you ready to become awesomer? Hello everyone, this is Umar Hamid, your host, and welcome to the No Limit Selling Podcast, where industry leaders share their tips, strategies, and advice on how to make you better, stronger, faster. Get ready for another episode. Today I have the privilege of having Zack, Bryant, and Kristian Kan. They're realtors, they're up and rising stars, and they're just adding a team which changes the dynamics of leadership. Gentlemen, welcome to the program.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
So in 90 seconds, tell us who you are, what you do, and how do you distinguish yourselves from the other 42,000, can you believe 42,000 realtors in the state of Maryland?
Wow, that's a lot. So my name is Zack Bryant, born and raised in Baltimore. Been a realtor for 4 years, and one of the things that separates Kristian and I is that, you know, we've had a lot of success in the short time that we've been in real estate, but we're also looking to stay in the business as producers in addition to growing our team. So a lot of realtors look to get out of the business fairly quickly. This is something that we're very passionate about. We love advising clients, and we're very interested in continuing to grow our team.
Brilliant. So how do you find your role is changing as you add other realtors underneath you? How does that change your role from what it used to be? Like, what's different? What's the same?
So I think what it comes down to is, you know, you go from success, which is an individual thing, to significance, which is where you can help other people. And I think what we found is that, you know, the individual success is great, but we really wanted to make a bigger impact and, you know, leave our mark and help others to achieve, you know, the level of success we've gotten to and more.
Kristian, what makes this partnership work?
So I think what makes any partnership work, and that's whether it's friendship, marriage, business, I think it's equal parts that can combine to make a greater whole. But
and by the way, let me give you a high five there. That is the magic of building a team, because there's way too many teams out there where when you look at the individual pieces, when they come together, the whole is less than the sum of the parts. And I think the goal always is, how do we get people coming together and create something amazing, right? So sorry to interrupt, but that was like awesome.
No, I appreciate it. So, and that was our goal is, you know, can we build something bigger than we could build individually, and can we, as Zack said, you know, significance over success. You know, what's your footprint? What are you leaving behind? And I think together we realized we can really provide more resources for our agents and help them at a higher level. And that was really the main goal.
Brilliant. As you bring in agents, how can you tell the ones that are going to be highly successful from the ones that think they will but can't?
You can't.
You can't. So how do you know? Like,
you can't tell from the start. You know, that's the.
I am totally amazing on my resume. I just want you to know that. Give me an example of somebody coming on board that you thought would do an okay job, but they turned out to be amazing. Like, who's that person on your team?
I would say Darnell, because we have 3 agents on our team as of right now. So it's Kristian, myself, 3 agents, and you know, Darnell came in with no experience. He was a professional athlete. And, you know, he came in at the end of December, got his license, and he's been knocking it out of the park, you know. And what we have to do is we have to continue to help him along and get him to that next level, you know. And so he's had some success. You know, he knows that there's more to go, and you know, he's not at his capacity, but he came in and he sort of had that drive. And I think that's what you look for. You look for, you know, the motivation level. What are the reasons why the person's doing it, you know? And if typically when the reason is money, it's
short-lived.
Usually it's short-lived. It's not the right fit, however you want to say it, because when you focus on money, you know, everything else falls by the wayside, and it's an empty feeling. But when you work on and focus on being, you know, a significant impact in other people's lives, and you know, you focus on the long game and the longevity and what you're going to be doing 5, 10, and 20 years from now, I think that Darnell understands that, and you just have to help them with the building blocks. And we're, you know, as somebody who's newer in the business, I'm still learning. So what I did was, when I got in 4 years ago, I was coming from a career where I was in a 9-to-5 position. I was in sales. I was pretty good, but I didn't have an opportunity in my mind to really explode, my potential, and I wasn't really in an environment or in a culture that, encouraged that. So turning point for me was I met Craig Northrop, really just kind of, I knew his son from the career I was at, and I just sat down with him, and he basically said, look, just come over, do it, quit your job. My wife was a stay-at-home mom. I had one child.
Risk.
Yeah, there was a lot of risk, but what happened was he inspired me to turn that fear into excitement. So when I got right in, it was like, let's go.
The feeling is the feeling. It's not that the feeling transforms. It's just we realize that it's excitement. And other people in your position would have labeled it fear. That's one of the things I really want the world to know is that way you feel that fear. So what is fear? Fear is that reptilian response to, I got to fight like hell or run like hell because we're in danger. Human beings are at their most powerful, passionate, effective in that zone. That also happens to be labeled excitement. Mm-hmm. And so brilliant for you.
It's how you channel it, and I think Craig, one of the things that Craig said to me that I'll never forget is he said, you'll thank me later. And so.
And you did.
I did. I have since thanked him several times, but what it did was it instilled the confidence. It's good to be confident in yourself, but when you have somebody else that believes in you and says, I think you can do it, when you might even be questioning it, I think that's what a partnership is about with Kristian and I. We want to encourage and inspire each other and pick each other up, push each other along. But when you go with somebody like Craig Northrop, who, is one of the most legendary real estate agents in history, and he's sitting there telling you, you got it, that's powerful. So I think that was really all I needed, because I was at a point with my career where I was like, look, I don't want to wake up every day and do this. I don't care what the risk is, because I'm at a point where if I stay where I am, I'm dying inside.
Yep.
So
what's brilliant is, like my definition of leadership has 3 primary responsibilities. One is to have one hell of a compelling vision that inspires the troops to say, this is worth taking a bullet for. Number 2, building a culture where people actually, the whole is much larger than the sum of the parts. And number 3 is long-term shareholder value. When you got those 3 things happening, it allows that leader to help you suspend the fear that you have and go on the journey because you trust them. And it brings out the very best of who you are. How are you two going to aspire to be able to do that for the people you're leading?
So one of the reasons we really saw ourselves teaming up as something that would be more beneficial for our agents, anybody that we are a leader for, in addition to our own growth and our own potential, was we bring different things to the table. So I may have certain leadership qualities that Zack may not have.
So give me an example. So this is a good marriage. Like my wife and I am the big thinker, let's go do it. She's the tactician and the reality check, and it's the balance of the focus on detail from her and the vision from me that allows us to function. So what are the attributes you each bring to the table?
So I think we both have, well, it's different, because I think you have to have a lot of the same characteristics and the same traits to really have that same long-term vision. Mm-hmm. Exactly, to be able to align. But you also need to have, you need to be counterparts in certain areas.
So where are you guys aligned, and where are you guys add value?
So I think when you look at the big scope, we're aligned in the fact that we both have the same long-term vision. We both see ourselves doing this for another 20, 30 years at a very high level. But at the same time, we have the same initial why. If you think about that why, mm-hmm. that driving factor, that fire, whatever wakes you up in the morning, if it's not an alarm clock, what is it? And it's our family. And I think it's a mixture of setting an example for our family, providing for our family, and leaving something behind that we can be proud of and that our family can be proud of.
Brilliant. And so what do you bring to the table that Zack doesn't?
So now I'll finally answer that question that you've been asking over and over. So I think we both bring different stuff. Zack brings more of he's connected. He's a connector. He knows everybody. He's a big social guy, very involved in the community, always giving back. And a lot of his business has been built on that. It's very referral based. It's very organic. Whereas my business has been a combination of a little bit of that. But that's something that I hope to gain a little bit more from Zack. And I've also built my business more on a lot of the everything from the old school marketing to the new school marketing. You know, I'm big on digital marketing, everything from Facebook, social media, any kind of Google AdWords. I love that stuff. I love learning about it on a daily basis and getting better at it and kind of staying ahead of the curve. You know, whenever algorithms change or anything happens that I think may affect my ads, I'm the first one to figure out how's that going to affect it, what can we do differently, and get better at it.
Brilliant.
And I would say that's spot on. One of the thing that Kristian, I think, helps me with a lot is I am more of that big thinker, big picture guy. And one of the things that Kristian does is he kind of can help bring me down to earth a little bit, and he's a little bit more the realist sometimes. He's also extremely disciplined, and he's a great example of that. And so, you know, it kind of drives me in that direction as well. But I think you need somebody who's more detail focused, like you had mentioned, which is Kristian. You know, we both love to deal with our agents, deal with our clients. But again, I think sometimes my head gets in the clouds a little bit, which can be a good thing. But when you have somebody that can hold you accountable and say, okay, your head's in the clouds, but we need to be on earth right now.
Nice.
He does that for me. And so I feel like when we first started talking and discussing this partnership, I knew that about him. And because we had done a transaction together a few years ago, just randomly, and then we became friends. And just in our interactions, like, there is that difference of personality. You know, he's a little bit more analytical, fair to say. And again, I'm not so much. Now, if you have to do certain things, he can jump into my realm, I can jump into his realm. But sort of our nature and our default settings are different. And so it works.
And it's that culture and that respect that allows you to stay in your lanes and come over when you need to, but having trust in the other person's going to have your back is huge.
And I think I can say that I definitely feel like that.
There's a really highly effective must be like Bethesda, Northern Virginia kind of area. Her name's Carrie Schul, and her team does about $250 million a year. I presented on the same stage as her, and one of the things I took away was, for her, it's very analytical. It's about tracking and marketing what's working. Somebody in the crowd asked, you know, how many telephone numbers do you have? And she asked one of her assistants. We have 150 telephone numbers because each ad has a different telephone number, so we can measure exactly what we're doing and change it as the climate changes. To be super successful, you need that compelling vision. You need the leadership skills. Then you need that math to make the entire machine work. So let me ask you a question. We all have amazing stories of how powerful and effective we are, but we also have those times where we were ineffective. And one of those things we had to learn a lesson to move forward. Do one of you have one of those things in your real estate career where it was like, oh my God, this was like an important lesson, might even have been an expensive lesson? Do you have one of those? Because I think a lot of times people that are successful talk about the good stuff, but I think what people really need to know is we're all humans, and that's how we learn.
Yeah, I think for me, sometimes when you first get into real estate, when I first got in, I remember I was being very emotional about a lot of different things in the beginning, like, you know.
So you were attached to the outcome.
I was attached to the outcome big time, and so there's a transition that happens as you get in. You first start, you know, and again, you're in a commission-based job, and whether you focus on the money or not, you have to make sales to make a living and to have a life. So when you're new in the business and you don't have a lot going on, and maybe you're the income winner in the family, those can get tense. So what happened for me was there were several times where in the very beginning I tied my emotions to the outcome, and it was almost probably perceived as desperation from the other side. And the transition that takes place is, you know, in a negative way, you make yourself become numb to everything, which can affect your home life, can affect your personal relationships. Then the next step, sort of the next better step, is then saying, okay, I can be emotional sometimes. That's okay. It's normal and healthy. But I also need to know when I need to be objective and I need to be just an advisor. And so that's what makes us good, is that now, you know, we know when we can turn it on and turn it off. Of, okay, now I got to put my real estate hat on. Now I got to be dad. I got to be friend. I got to be husband. But I think there's been times where I've maybe gotten a bit of bad news, and I can remember specific examples, several, where I've gotten bad news, say maybe about a home inspection or a deal fell through, and I immediately called my client, right?
Right.
Like intense emotion going on when it probably wasn't in my or their best interest to be having that conversation at that point. So now I think the lesson that I learned there is sometimes you need to wait a little bit and you need to let everything settle and think about what you're going to say and come at it from, you're the coach. We're the coach in this business. So we have to come to our clients and say, how can I help them? It's not about me.
Right.
It's not about how I feel about what's going on. It's about how can I get them the outcome that they deserve and why they hired me.
There's a difference between attachment and commitment. And a good example of that is when you have somebody that is, all their friends have girlfriends or wives. They don't. And the more they try and connect with women, the more repulsive they become. And one day they say, that's it. I'm giving up on women. They're all crazy. I'm not going to waste my time anymore. And that weekend they're at a grocery store, somebody drops a can of beans, they pick it up because they have no attachment anymore and they find like Miss Right immediately. And it was almost like the universe, when you're like attached to something, repels you. And as soon as you let go, then something amazing stuff happens. And people can feel that, right?
Absolutely.
On the other end.
Absolutely. I mean, yeah, when you get to a point where, and I tell my clients all the time, when they'll say things like, oh, I feel bad, if it falls, I feel bad for you.
Right.
And I say, it's not about the transaction. My goal is to be here for you forever. You know what I mean? So this one transaction.
This is a lifetime relationship.
Correct. So I'm not worried about this deal falling through. You know what I mean? I'm worried about you being taken care of more than anything else. And when you look at it and you truly believe that, that's where you become super successful.
And what's amazing is, like, if you talk to 100 realtors, they're going to say the customer is number one and we're going to do amazing things for the customer and it's going to be fantastic. So much so it becomes cliche. And for customers, when something goes sideways and the realtor steps up and does something amazing, that's when they go, wow, this is a realtor for life, because it sets you apart from the rhetoric and you're actually living it.
Yeah, I fully agree. I mean, and that's one of those things. It's all about the expectations you set and the perception that you put out there. So I think we're getting to the point where, and again, this goes back to why we partnered up, I think. One of the big reasons is, the same way when you get married, now friends and family and anybody you meet, they associate you guys together,
Right.
Whatever you do looks bad on her, it looks good on her. Whatever she does looks bad or good on you. So, I think we've always been very intentional on our reputation and our perception, both professionally, with the community, with anybody. I think I'd like to say we're both, pretty well respected, and we've conducted ourselves in a way that warrants that. So when Zack and I talked about the whole partnership, that was one of the things that you're putting your reputation on the line now, with someone else. So, and that's something that I think the more we talked about it, the more we felt very comfortable that if there's anybody you're going to partner up with, that's who it was. And now I think what it ended up doing is now our clients really just, they really see us at a almost more of a higher level than they did before, because now they realize, we partnered up, we're building something bigger. We really care to be able to give more to our clients, our agents, everybody that's involved with us. And we realized that, that was the way to do it, was by having more resources, having more people, more minds involved for every decision we make. So, that's kind of where we're headed with that.
Kristian, you've been in the business for about 5 years.
Right.
What's something you know now that you wish you would have done or known sooner that would have actually made your career more successful?
Can I give two things?
Absolutely.
So I think number one is surrounded myself with a culture that is really, focused on growth and focused on that, that high level success, but also that community and camaraderie and the big picture. I think that's something that just in the recent months, being with Zack and being with Northrop Realty, that's something that has, I think, exponentially changed my mindset, and it's raised that perceived ceiling to another level. So
Nice.
That's something, and again, it's that whole thing. You run with the people that are running the 7-minute mile. You're going to run a 7-minute mile. You run in 6:50, you feel great.
If I run with 4-minute milers, I'd be dead. But anyway, I get the point.
So now I feel like I went from that 7-minute mile crew to running with the 4-minute mile crew.
Brilliant.
So
That's
know,
one.
now
What's
I'm
the
trying
second
to
one?
catch up, and that's exciting for me. That drives me.
Brilliant.
So that's number one is surrounding myself with a different culture. Number two is more on the, I guess, more industry specific, more on the real estate side of things. I would have come to a full service brokerage where I am now that actually helps you with a lot of the daily tasks and activities.
So you can focus
that are
on what's
involved.
most important.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. And a lot of people call that leverage, call it whatever you want, but it's just being somewhere, and it may be different places for different people, but being somewhere where you can focus on what you love and really what's most beneficial for you and your clients, which in my opinion is that face-to-face time or phone time with clients, to develop the business, grow the business, and service your clients.
What's something you know now that you wish you knew earlier that would have allowed your career to be successful faster?
So this year specifically, one of the things that I've learned and come to understand and accept is that this is all about relationships exclusively for me. So meaning my focus this year has been reconnecting with clients that, over the 4 years I didn't pay a lot of attention to because, the value that they have to me is they trusted me.
Nice.
And so I want to be that person for everyone I deal with now that, hey, you need a dry cleaner? I got the person. You need someone to come detail your car? I got the person.
I'm a problem solver. I'm in your corner.
Right. So what I've done this year is I've made a big push to just reconnect and just meet with and talk to the people that have put their trust in me and focus on that exclusively, including the people like Kristian, Craig, the agents on our team, the other people that work for the company, other agents in the business, vendors I've worked with, people that have helped contribute to the success I've had in my career, and just sort of going back and only focusing on those people, because what I realized is if you talk about a market shift or a recession happening, which it will come, you can sort of, they call it recession proofing your business.
You can weather it a lot more easily.
Easily, right.
So it turns out that, just like every other industry, technology is coming in and just changing the entire dynamics. And what they're saying is that realtors that have those strong relationships will be highly valued and will be around. People that just have that transactional relationship, they're not going to survive. Mm-hmm. There'll be a robot or an Autobot somewhere doing the transaction for them.
Yeah, and I don't necessarily look at that as a negative thing, because I read Inman, which is like the Wall Street Journal for real estate, and if you look at that, it's essentially the tech that's coming into the real estate realm is coming from the West Coast and it's moving east. So Seattle, LA, San Francisco, Phoenix, Arizona.
Right.
A lot of there's something called iBuyer programs, which are basically Zillow, for example, is going and buying homes themselves and then reselling them, but they are using agents. Now, that's another argument, with Zillow is selling our data back to us, which is interesting. Mm-hmm. As long as we're the central hub for the data, they have it to sell back to us. The concern would be if the consumer goes straight to Zillow, but the agents that focus on the humanistic value of what we do, i.e. relationships and long-term sustainability and trust, are going to be somewhat immune to the speed and the efficiency that some people look for in just the tech. Because just like a lawyer or a doctor, we're a very important piece of their lives, and we need to hold ourselves to that standard. And the ones that don't, they're going to be the first ones to go by the wayside when the tech comes in, and like you said, the Autobots and just different things that are able to be automated can come in and take away. But there's a lot of things that they can't take away. And the bigger that your list is of those things, the longer you're going to be successful in the business, no matter what happens with tech.
At the end of the day, when we came together as human beings into tribes, it was that human connection way back when. The height of our technological greatness, it comes down to the very same thing, that we're all connected. And I want to thank both of you guys for sitting down with me. I always learn something cool on each one of these interviews.
Thank you for having us. I mean, podcasts like this, interviews like this is really what, it excites me. Learning every day is what makes all of us better. So, opportunities like this are, I'm beyond thankful.
If you enjoyed this episode, please go to iTunes and leave a 5-star rating. And if you're looking for more tools, go to my website at nolimitselling.com. I've got a free mind training course there that's going to teach you some insights from the world of neuro-linguistic programming and that is the fastest way to get better results.